Elections Commission says the local government elections cannot be held before April.
අපටත් දවස් 75ක්වත් ඕනේ. මොකද අපි තාම කොට්ටාස මොනවද කියලා දන්නේ නැහැනේ.
Vehicles procured for the Auditor General's department on operational lease. Minister Sajith Premadasa reveals a system used to distribute drugs among school children.
Easy cash ක්‍රමයට මුදල් ගනුදෙනු කරලා ආසාවෙන් මට්ටමින් අද මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය භයංකාර අන්දමට ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා.
Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Bernadine Jazz Singh. Very good evening to you. Let's now take a look at your stories in detail. The book Buddhist Ideas of Good Governance, authored by Professor Francois Chenet and Venerable Dr. Thampalawala Dhammaratna Thera, was launched today under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena.
Several dignitaries, including the Minister of Justice and Buddha Sasana, Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, and Minister Gantha Karunatilaka, attended the event in Battaramulla today. The book was officially presented to President Maithripala Sirisena at this event, where the head of state also officially launched the online release of the publication. How far has the President come in advancing the concept of good governance? How far has the Prime Minister come? How far has the Cabinet of Ministers come in inculcating and implementing good governance? I think that when it comes to this matter, considering the past 2 years, the public may have questions. So at all times, when considering the various philosophies, be they spiritual or political, the concept of good governance is prevalent, even in spiritual philosophies like Buddhism. As such, we must all be committed to ensuring this is implemented as far as possible in every endeavor. It is not an easy task to implement such a philosophy in a society which has acted on political impetus. It is a challenging task, akin to taking the 5 precepts or even the 8 precepts. As such, we must understand the background and the challenges, but at the same time, we must do our best as far as is possible.
The Sunday Times reports that the controversial deal struck between the Ministry of Development Studies and the Washington-based lobbying group Sandler Travis and Rosenberg PA has been abandoned.
American firm Sandler Travis and Rosenberg, based in Washington, D.C., signed an 18-month agreement with the Ministry of Development Strategies and Internal Trade, headed by Minister Malik Samaravikrama, on the 29th of July 2016. The Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade had agreed to pay a sum of $630,000 for the services of SDNR over 1.5 years. A monthly retainer fee of $30,000 will be paid for the first and last 6 months of the agreement, while a monthly retainer fee of $40,000 will be paid for the second 6-month period. However, the Sunday Times reported that the 18th-month deal has been abandoned after more than 22.5 million rupees or $150,000 of taxpayer money was paid to the firm. Sunday Times claims that it has received reports that the aim of hiring SDNR in a rush during campaigning for the US presidential election without following a competitive bidding process of tender was to determine whether Sri Lanka could enter the Trans-Pacific Partnership or TPP.
The scope of engagement includes lobbying the US Congress with a view to introducing and passing a bill to have conflict-affected areas and lagging areas of our country as qualified industrial zones, and thereby obtaining preferential market access to goods produced in those industrial zones. Honourable Speaker, this contract with the US firm STNR has been entered into in the fullest transparent manner.
Last year, Newsfirst on multiple instances highlighted that entering into such an agreement while on the brink of a US presidential election would prove to be futile. However, during and after the presidential campaign, President-elect Donald Trump repeatedly pledged to scrap the TPP.
The Auditor General's Department procured 25 vehicles today on an operating lease. There was strong opposition in the recent past when steps were taken to procure vehicles for MPs under an operating lease.
The 25 vehicles have been procured on a 5-year lease from a private company on the instructions of the Minister of Finance.
මෙහිදී මම හිතන්නේ මේ වසර 5කට පමණ පසු මෙම වාහන නැවතත් අදාළ ආයතනයටමද අයිති වෙන්නේ.
The government has made a policy decision to procure vehicles for state institutions under the operating lease system. That is the policy of the government. So when the time period concludes, ownership will be reverted to the company. We will have to sign a fresh leasing agreement for 5 years. That is the system.
මෙම ක්‍රමවේදයද වඩාත් හිතවත් අපේ රටට එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔය කියන අනික් ක්‍රමවේදයද වඩාත් හිතවත් ඔබගේ විමර්ශන ඇසින් බැලු.
If we consider the cost-benefit analysis, then in truth, it will depend on the mileage of these vehicles. But for example, brand new vehicles are usually used by state institutions for 10 to 15 years. When considering this situation, there is a need to renting the matter. But there may be some benefit through obtaining brand new vehicles for 5 years and running it without any problem for the government.
ඔබතුමාගේ උත්තරය යම් කිසි පැටලිලි ආවේ ඒ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමාට යම් කිසි පීඩනයක් තියනවද ඍජු ප්‍රකාශය කිරීමට.
The cost-benefit analysis will have to be conducted in order to answer that question.
In the political arena, here are some excerpts from separate media briefings convened today by the UNP and the joint opposition.
We constantly spoke of the Rajapaksa dynasty and now a Veeravangsa dynasty. Today he is in prison as a suspect based on evidence provided by everyone.
If Vimal Veeravansa has been arrested, then Ranil Wickremesinghe too must be arrested over the matter of the port. What is the government trying to do? The government is not allowing people to speak.
Individuals in the Veeravangsa family alone have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 vehicles. 14 vehicles are being enjoyed by that family. Can they take to the streets and call for UNPs to be struck down?
You know that we have commenced a top 10 program and we have already filed complaints against 5 powerful ministers in this government. To date, the Bribery or Corruption Commission has not called on us to make inquiries regarding this.
Even we can commence politically popular programs to make people happy. But we have stepped aside from these populist programs and we are embarking on long-term development programs for the country. Our Prime Minister is connecting with foreign nations today and is preparing to bring in foreign investors to commence development projects.
In Temple Trees, Ranil Wickremesinghe and Charita Ratwatte have come together under the leadership of Malik Samaravikrama to sell the country's resources. 34 institutions have been nominated and the government is now taking steps to sell all these institutions.
Hambantota is the best example of the industrial zones, tourist zones and investment that will come in the near future. We point the finger at the media because the media has still not properly compared what has happened in the recent past.
At 4 o'clock last evening, the Prime Minister summoned the Minister of Ports to Temple Trees. The Attorney General and the Minister of Finance also came there. They all got together and influenced the Minister of Ports and the Chairman to immediately conclude everything needed for the agreement. The Ports Minister was also ordered to ensure that a lawyer is prevented from appearing on behalf of the Ports Authority at the next hearing of the court case.
Time now for news from the courts.
10 men who were arrested and remanded following the unrest which occurred during the laying of the foundation stone for the investment promotion zone in Mirijavilla Hambantota were released on bail today. The 10 suspects were released on sureties of 500,000 rupees each. 5 suspects were produced today along with a report from the Ambalangoda police. The 5 included 2 former Pradesh Sabha members and political activists. 29 suspects, including the aforementioned 5, were returned to remand custody until the 30th of January. The chairman of Avantgarde Maritime Services, Nishanko Senadipati, and the former chairman of Lanka, retired Major General Palita Fernando, have been prohibited from travelling overseas. The order was issued today by the Colombo Chief Magistrate Lal Ranasinghe Bandara. Both men are accused of soliciting and accepting a bribe of 35.5 million rupees. The court also granted permission for a request from a prosecution to submit an amended charge sheet. The case will be taken up again on the 3rd of April.
The Criminal Investigations Department presented facts pertaining to the assassination of journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge to the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court today. The case was taken up before Mount Lavinia Magistrate Mohammed Mihail today.
Presenting facts to court, the Criminal Investigations Department said the SIM cards which were found during investigations into the assassination had been purchased from a store in Petta. It was also revealed in court today that the fingerprints on the vehicle of Lasantha Wickrematunge do not match the fingerprints which were obtained. The CID had also requested authorization from court to examine the handwriting of a few persons. The Criminal Investigations Department, citing the statement given by Lasantha Wickrematunge's daughter, said that she was informed by her father that if there was to be a threat on his life, it would be because of the publishing of an expose on the MiG aircraft. The CID also informed court that Wickrematunge's driver, who was abducted, had been threatened not to provide statements on the MiG deal. The Criminal Investigations Department added that this goes to show that the statements issued by Lasantha Wickrematunge's daughter and driver substantiates each other. The case is to be taken up for hearing once again on the 20th of March.
MP Veerakumar Dissanayake of the National Freedom Front was questioned by the FCID today over the misuse of state-owned vehicles.
The FCID had interrogated MP Veerakumar Dissanayake today over an ongoing investigation into the misuse of vehicles owned by the Presidential Secretariat. If Ranil Wickremesinghe believes that this is misuse, then it is evident that there is a far greater misuse happening under his government. He should stop this misuse and look after his government, or an even more powerful financial crimes division will have to be created in the future to look into the crimes of his government.
Welcome back to the news. The chairman of the Delimitations Appeal Committee, Ashoka Piris, said the committee's report will be submitted to the subject minister tomorrow. However, the UNP member of the committee is yet to sign the report. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Elections Commission chimed in on the issue today.
I have heard the Honourable Minister say that if he receives it tomorrow, he will gazette it the day after. He must issue the Gazette Notice of Incorporation and the amendments. Compulsory female representation must be gazetted. Once these three tasks are completed, the minister's role is fulfilled. The ball is not in our hands when it comes to holding the election. It is with the Ministry of Local Government. In truth, even Parliament is not involved in it. If the Ashoka Piris committee had been appointed by the Election Commission, we would have asked the dissenting member to submit an alternative report. When the person on the other end is holding onto the ball, what can we do? There is a story that when a rugby game was underway, a millionaire questioned why they were fighting over one ball and handed out 30 balls. We cannot do that. But when the power comes to us, you will see what we can do afterwards. There is no way that an election can be held in the first half of the year because we need at least 75 days. We still do not know what the electorates are. The other factor is that this year is not only for local government elections. The terms of the Eastern, North Central and Sub-Ragamo provincial councils which were elected in 2012 will conclude in August, as I recall. These elections must be held too.
We have seen that over the past few weeks, the Delimitation Appeals Committee has also been dragging its feet, with one member refusing to place his signature and with you refusing to accept that report.
I have got opinion from the Attorney General. I can't accept the report unless all 5 members sign, or if there is a dissenting view, that view is sent to me in writing. Therefore, I have acted in terms of the law.
But for how long must the general public of Sri Lanka wait? They are waiting for the local government elections to be held.
There is only one member to sign, and he has promised to sign it and hand it over tomorrow. So Mr. Ashoka Piris had informed me that the committee will hand over the report to me tomorrow.
The chairman of the National Elections Commission has said that when it comes to the local government elections, the ball is in your court.
The ball has been in my court for a very long time. Unfortunately, the media has failed to educate the general public that the original report was opposed by all political parties and civil society, that in order to safeguard democracy, I appointed this appellate committee. And out of 4,000 wards, the boundaries of 2,000 wards would be changed. And the former report was done for the benefit of Basil Rajapaksa, who did not consult the political leadership of the country. And I created a process that we went to the periphery, to all the provinces, and made changes considering the will of the people.
Minister Mustafa, delay defeats equity. Yes or no?
Reasonable delay, justifiable delay is what I'm doing.
Minister Sajid Premadasa today exposed one of the means by which the drug racket is spreading among school children.
I must say with great sadness today that easy cash transactions are being used to spread narcotics within the school system, and a dangerous situation where the future of our school children is being destroyed at the school level has arisen. People are afraid to speak of this. I'm not afraid of drug peddlers. I'm not afraid of junkies. The drug menace became a huge problem in the Philippines, and the president of the country took several stern actions. The question is not why can't our security forces take similar action. The question is why isn't the law being enforced? The minister expressed these views during an event held to lay the foundation stone for a new auditorium at President's College in Dembaravawa this morning. A sum of 3.5 million rupees was also presented as a grant to fund the construction of the auditorium.
In other local stories, 194 employees of the manpower agencies continued to camp outside the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy for the 16th straight day today.
The group, which completed the 180-day service period as meter readers at the Ceylon Electricity Board, have been recruited through manpower agencies. The demonstrators say even though they have obtained the required qualifications after completing the 100-day service period, they have not been recruited to the permanent service as promised by the government. They request that they be recruited to the service as promised by the government.
I provided for my family with the wages I got, but since I came here, my family's economy has fallen drastically. There is nothing we can do. It is very difficult to live. There is no income whatsoever. All I ask is that our services be made permanent. My father is a day labourer. We have had to get into the streets because we were removed from the Ceylon Electricity Board. My father brings home 1,000 rupees from his day labour, and my brother and sister are still studying. Even the minister promised to ensure fairness to all employees. It is true that around 1,000 employees were absorbed. But now these workers aren't at a manpower company nor the CEB. There are vacancies for around 1,000 workers.
Newsfirst looked into the statuses of the homes of a few of the demonstrators who remain camped outside the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy.
My son works at the CEB and he has had no job since January. We live off the salary he gets, so I live with difficulty without my son's salary. My son does not even have money to provide for my daughter's education. I humbly request the government to provide my son and everyone else in this situation with permanent employment.
In the wake of the arid conditions gripping most parts of the island, the Disaster Management Centre has made a request from the general public to inform them in the event of a water scarcity. The DMC added that it has introduced the hotline 177 for this purpose.
The Ministry of Disaster Management Centre says the water capacity of almost all the main reservoirs in the country have declined to 27% as a result of the prevailing dry weather. The Jaffna district has been one of the worst affected areas. Several areas of farmland in the Sangane, Karavatti and Misale areas in the Jaffna district have been destroyed. The drought has also caused the people of Varani area in Jaffna to face a severe water crisis. Many cultivations including paddy in Galembindanavawa and several other areas in the Anuradhapura district are on the verge of being destroyed.
This entire stretch of land is cultivated using rainwater. We could have reaped a good harvest if it rained during this time. This is all that is left. You can see for yourself. If this continues, we would have to hang ourselves.
Each family has cultivated around 7 to 8 acres of corn. We cannot bear this cost.
Polonnaruwa is yet another district which is vastly affected by the drought.
I'm 62 years old and to my knowledge, never has there been a drought like this. All our cultivations are destroyed. After setting up the earth and cleaning up the canals, there is no water now. We have spent all the money we had on this. We have taken out loans from banks and pawned our jewelry. Now we cannot even settle them.
The Disaster Management Centre requests the general public to use water sparingly due to the existing situation. The Department of Meteorology says that a temporary change in the dry and cold weather conditions can be expected after the 20th of this month.
The constant squabbles between politicians and authorities on complex issues that affect the lives of the general public have resulted in issues becoming more complex and unresolvable. This is also the case for garbage disposal. Under the guise of resolving problems concerning the largest garbage dump in the country, located in Mithotamulla, certain authorities of the Western Provincial Council have earned large sums of money during the tenure of the Yahapalne government. However, there is no solution in sight for communities who grapple with problems concerning the garbage dump every day. Similarly, many local government institutions in the country who have been implementing waste management programs have filled their pockets instead of providing relief to the local communities. Hence, there is no difference between the worms who feed off garbage and those who fill their pockets by hoodwinking the public. For instance, people residing in many villages located in Galembidunuwava in Anuradhapura are at the receiving end of a complexity designed by the Galembidunuwava Pradeshya Sabha, although there was no major issues concerning garbage disposal in the area. Area residents have thus been adversely affected over the last 4 years. A plot of land located close to a tank, which is 5 kilometers away from the Galembidunuwava town, was allocated for garbage collected from the town and surrounding areas to be dumped in order to be recycled. Instead of setting up a waste recycling facility, the Galembidunuwava Pradeshya Sabha has committed a quarrying racket. Although the tenure of the Galembidunuwava Pradeshya Sabha has come to an end, the current Pradeshya Sabha secretary does not deny the operation of such a racket.
It has been a year since I assumed duties as a secretary of the Galembidunuwava Pradeshya Sabha. It is evident that a stone quarry is operated in the plot of land that was allocated to us by the divisional secretary. However, this is not an incident which occurred recently. I cannot say whether the quarry existed or not when the divisional secretary allocated the land. Yet it is evident that quarrying had taken place here, although we continue to collect garbage in this location.
Disregarding the water that has now collected in large holes that have appeared in the land due to quarrying, the Pradeshya Sabha continues to dump garbage here, keeping the safety and well-being of the area residents at stake.
The stray dogs drink this water. The smell fills our house, well, and surroundings. There are flies. It is impossible to stay here. The dogs roam in the area and the smell spreads. It is very troublesome. The stench is unbearable. The wastewater also flows through the tank and reaches our cultivations. The stench is strong when it rains. We cannot stay here.
Responsible officials of the Galembidunuwava Pradeshya Sabha, who are accused by the area residents for creating an unsafe environment, have now cleansed their hands of all responsibilities. But the director and technical officers attached to the Pradeshya Sabha, who supervise the quarrying activities at the plot of land allocated for a recycling facility, continue to hold office. Is there no other alternative except ensuring that at least these officials resolve the environmental and health hazard? Local Government Commissioner of the Northern Province, this is over to you.
That's all from the sports arena. Shane and Bernadine, back to you.
Thank you, Azra. With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jazz Singha.
And I'm Shane Silva. Take care and good night.